If you've ever had a swollen ankle, a sore throat, or any inflammation, you've probably noticed this. Ibuprofen doesn't just help with pain, it often helps with the swelling too. Tylenol can help with pain and fever, but it usually doesn't touch the swelling the same way. So today, I'm actually going to explain exactly why ibuprofen kills pain and swelling and what the trade off is that your body pays for. Thank you, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. And at the end, I'll show you why the same mechanism that helps swelling is also why ibuprofen can mess with your stomach, your kidneys, and even heart disease. The first thing we need to know is ibuprofen is an NSAID. And ibuprofen has a couple brand names. So if you see Advil or Motrin, they're all ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is just the generic name. Now, ibuprofen being an NSAID stands for a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. And that middle word, anti-inflammatory, is the whole story. And just for a little extra context, this is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. So that means there are other drugs that are steroidal anti-inflammatories. They're also very powerful. But in this case, we just need to know ibuprofen is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. So what really is inflammation, chemically speaking? When your body gets injured, let's say you have a sprain, dental pain, a sore throat, period cramps, whatever it is, your body is going to release alarm signals that are going to start the inflammation process. One of the biggest starting materials is something called arachidonic acid, and this actually comes from cell membranes. Damaged cells release this arachidonic acid, and essentially your body turns that into a group of molecules that basically act like this: make it red, make it hot, make it swollen, make it hurt. And I know that sounds really bad, but your body needs to tell you if it's in pain, right? So these chemical signals are telling you all this information for you to be aware. And those molecules that are causing all this are called prostaglandins. And we'll talk about this in detail. Now that we know prostaglandins are what cause this swelling and this chemical reaction for inflammation, we need to talk about how they're made. So to make prostaglandins, your body uses an enzyme called COX. It stands for cyclooxygenase. Fancy word, but everybody just calls it COX. And to make it a little bit more complicated, there are two main versions that you'll typically hear about: COX-1 and COX-2. So basically, these enzymes help create prostaglandins. It also helps create something called thromboxane, which is also part of the inflammation pathway we'll talk about later. But basically, you just need to know this. You have these COX enzymes that are throughout your body that help create these pro-inflammatory signals like prostaglandins and thromboxane. So when you have these pro-inflammatory signals, what happens? Well, the three big effects that you see is they sensitize pain nerves. So basically, your pain feels louder. They also increase blood flow and leakiness in the tissue. That's where you see the swelling. They can also raise the brain's temperature set point. So that's where you'll see fever. So all of these chemical signals are basically making you feel pain, feel swelling, feel that you have a fever starting. So it's a great target to kind of reduce, to prevent these signals from happening. So that's what I want you to take from here, that these are pro-inflammatory signals and we know how they're made. So now we can talk about how we can stop them. So what does ibuprofen actually do? Now we can talk about its mechanism of action and how it helps us with swelling and pain. So we know ibuprofen blocks COX-1 and COX-2. It's blocking those COX enzymes and preventing the production of prostaglandin. So when we block COX-1 and COX-2, we decrease the amount of prostaglandin being made and some other things like thromboxane. But essentially, we get three overall benefits from this. We get analgesia, which is reduction in pain. We have an anti-inflammatory response, so we reduce that swelling and redness, and we get an antipyretic response, meaning we reduce fever. Now, there is some antipyretic effect with ibuprofen. It's not too strong. If you're looking for a fever reducer, Tylenol is much stronger in reducing fever. But for ibuprofen, it's really good at preventing pain and lowering inflammation. Ibuprofen will help you reduce that pain and reduce all that swelling. And if you're trying to get smarter, faster, and sharper, use today's sponsor, Brilliant. You know that feeling when you're staring at a problem and it's just not clicking yet? Well, that's the exact moment I've been trying to get better at, not just by watching more stuff, but actually working through problems until my brain starts seeing a pattern. That's why I've been using Brilliant, who's supporting this video. Brilliant helps you excel in math, computer science with visuals. There's interactive problem solving, personalized practice. So you're not just consuming more and more information, you're building your intuition and all your skills. What I like is it meets you at the right level and then it keeps adapting. So you'll practice, you'll review, you feel yourself getting sharper because you're actually doing the work in a guided way. And I use it for the scientific thinking module. And it's one of the few things that reliably gives me that, oh, that's why moments. It actually explains the why behind what you're learning. To learn for free on Brilliant for a full 30 days, go to brilliant.org/drugchug, scan the QR code on screen, or click on that link in the description. Brilliant's also giving all of us 20% off any annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. All right, back to it. A few examples of when we use ibuprofen is, we've said it, when you have a sprained ankle or any injury really, because you're not just hurting, that tissue is inflamed because it's kind of damaged, right? So we lower the prostaglandins, which lessen the swelling and lessen the pain. We can also see it if you've ever had a sore throat, and that sore throat is from inflammation in the tissue inside the throat. So it's the same idea. Those prostaglandins are part of what make it feel kind of raw and swollen. So ibuprofen can help reduce the swelling and the pain. We can also see ibuprofen or any NSAIDs used for period cramps. Prostaglandins in the uterus drive contractions. So lowering prostaglandins often help in cramps in women. Okay, so everything sounds amazing. So why doesn't everybody take ibuprofen constantly? Well, that's a really bad idea. And the reason is those prostaglandins also do a bunch of important protective and regulatory jobs throughout the body. The first trade-off is in the stomach. So your stomach is basically a bunch of acid and enzymes that's all collectively being held together by your stomach lining. So it uses prostaglandins, especially the COX-1 related, to help protect the lining with a mucous membrane and blood flow. When you block that protection and you block the prostaglandins, you increase the risk of GI irritation and in some cases ulcers and eventually bleeding, which is horrible. Here's the scary part. Serious GI bleeding can happen without warnings or any symptoms, so you can't always feel it coming. The second trade-off when using NSAIDs is going to be in the kidneys. So in the kidneys, prostaglandins help keep blood flowing, especially when your kidneys are already under stress. Your kidneys love blood flow. That's what keeps them alive, and that's what lets them do their job. So prostaglandins help dilate the afferent arteriole, basically the blood flow going into the glomerulus, what is filtering. NSAIDs remove the dilation. So you're basically blocking some flow to the kidneys so that afferent arteriole can constrict and the kidney blood flow drops, which drops your GFR, your filtering ability. Okay. So this is why NSAIDs can be risky when someone is dehydrated. That means they don't have a lot of volume to filter. If a patient is older, typically your kidney function declines with age. If a patient has kidney disease, NSAIDs are probably not the best bet. And also if a patient has heart failure, because you already have a circulation issue. Because heart failure, you don't pump blood through your heart as efficiently as someone that doesn't have heart failure. If a patient is on other meds like diuretics, which make you urinate more, they cause more diuresis, which puts stress on the kidney. Or if they're on other drugs like blood pressure drugs like ACE inhibitors and ARBs, which we've talked about before. And the ACEs and ARBs in particular, they dilate the efferent, and that would cause an imbalance of blood flow to the kidney, which again is something we don't want. The third trade-off is platelet and bleeding risk. So ibuprofen can reduce something called platelet aggregation, and that's a fancy way of saying platelets coming together to help form a blood clot. And you need platelets to make blood clots. But if ibuprofen reduces that ability to make platelets aggregate, then you can cause a bleeding risk, right? So basically, you have thromboxane, which signals these platelets. But remember, ibuprofen blocks COX-2, which blocks this platelet aggregation. So when we do this, we do two things. We stop clotting because we stop platelet aggregation. These two things increase your bleeding risk. You need platelets, you need blood clots to clot the blood, right? Or else you'll just keep bleeding and bleeding. So this is a risk when you're taking NSAIDs. We do need to talk about a pregnancy warning. So these NSAIDs are very powerful, but if a patient is pregnant, we want to be very cautious. There's something called ductus arteriosus. It's a vital fetal blood vessel that connects the pulmonary artery to the aorta. Basically, it allows blood in the baby to bypass during lung development, okay? It usually closes after birth 24 to 48 hours. But if a pregnant patient takes NSAIDs, it can constrict or even prematurely close that fetal ductus arteriosus by inhibiting those prostaglandins that keep it open. Basically, from weeks 20 to 24, we don't want to use NSAIDs. Overall, we typically don't want to use NSAIDs in our pregnant population because it could lead to fatal fetal complications like pulmonary hypertension, heart failure. It's very nasty. Basically, try to avoid NSAIDs in pregnancy patients. Let's do a quick high yield checklist. So the first thing we want to know is you don't stack NSAIDs together. You don't want to put multiple NSAIDs because you're having the same effect. You're just increasing your side effect and risk profile. Make sure if a patient takes NSAIDs, they really only take one NSAID. The second thing is the dose amount. You always want to take the smallest effective dose for the shortest amount of time. You don't want to expose yourself to more risk, so take the smallest dose possible for the shortest time. You want to be extra cautious if a patient has any bleeding history, because we said these NSAIDs can cause bleeding. If they have any kidney damage, because they can also hurt the kidney. Any heart disease, if they're on blood thinning medications already, it's something you need to check on. If a patient's dehydrated, and remember, watch out using NSAIDs in our pregnant population. So that's ibuprofen. It kills pain and swelling because it turns down those prostaglandins. But remember, prostaglandins also protect your stomach, kidneys, and much more. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys want the next video to be. We could do ibuprofen versus Tylenol. We could talk about how Benadryl and how it actually works. Which one would you choose and why? Drop your vote in the comments.